On Instablogs Global Report today, we talk about Afghanistan's suicide attack targeting Indian embassy, the dreaded attack by Taliban and Al-Qaeda's pointing the fact that India's influence is regarded as a grave threat. Our CJ discusses this later in the show. Also on Global Report, suicide and scams overshadow exams in Egypt. Constitutional consensus in Nepal. South Korea's trade deficit widens in first half. Gaming industry dishing up ferocious content. Now it's war against India in Afghanistan. The suicide bomber who crashed an explosive-laden car into the Indian embassy in Kabul on Monday not only killed 41 people and injured more than 140, but sent a powerful message to Delhi that its growing influence in Afghanistan through its reconstruction projects are now in the firing line. More on this from our CJ Radhika.
This is Radhika, citizen journalist for Instablogs.com. Terrorism is nothing new for India, and it has fought against the plague in J&K long before Al-Qaeda's hijackers hit the World Trade Center in 2001. Nevertheless, Monday's suicide attack against Indian embassy in Kabul came as a shock. The attack killed 40, including 4 Indians. Indian businesses and NGOs aiding Afghanistan's reconstruction always the soft targets for terrorists. Now, the question that comes to mind is why would Islamist terrorists target India? And the question, of course, answers itself. Islamists hate India because India is building such a successful society in Afghanistan that Islamists have targeted the nation in the first place. Meanwhile, the bodies of 4 Indians killed in the suicide attack were flown into the capital late Monday night in a special Indian Air Force plane. Among those killed was Information Count V. Venkateshwar Rao, the first Indian diplomat killed abroad in a terrorist attack.
Cracking the Egypt's end-of-the-year exams could mean breaking off the rigid class barriers where some 20% live below the poverty line, but this fiercely competitive test is pushing parents to find new ways to help their children cheat and driving some of the students to commit suicide. Our CJ Sara reports.
This is Sarah Naguib reporting from Egypt for Instablogs.com. Mothers in Egypt now dread the Sanawiyya Amma exams that largely determine a child's future. So far, the test has driven 2 pupils to suicide and sparked a wave of corruption claims. 20% of the Egyptian population lives below the poverty line. A university education, especially a degree in medicine or engineering, can help break down rigid class barriers. This year's pressure has already driven 2 students to commit suicide. Hassan Yusri, 16, hung himself a day after his maths exam, and in the canal city of Port Said, Mirhan Salim, 18, jumped from her 6th floor on the morning of her mechanics exam. The exams are an enormous financial burden on most parents who are forced to pay for private tuition, costing up to 100 Egyptian pounds or $18 a day throughout the academic year.
Major political parties in Nepali Constituent Assembly and agitating Madhes-based parties have reached an agreement to introduce a new supplementary amendment bill to the interim constitution. More on this from our CJ.
This is Mukunda, citizen journalist reporting from Nepal for Instablogs. Deadlock, stalemate, dilemma and confrontations are some common words that can be used to describe Nepali politics. Time and again, Nepal's politics have faced a serious crisis and then a solution in agreement was found. These are some salient features of Nepali politics. But unfortunately, this time political leaders are not finding a solution and agreement. The 3 main Nepali parties and leaders from Madhesi agreed to present before the Constituent Assembly another proposed constitutional amendment to fulfill the autonomic demands of the southern region. The settlement between the communist parties of Nepal, the Maoist, the Unified Marxist-Leninist and the Nepalese Congress was possible after the Madhesi People's Right Forum and the Sadbhavana and Democratic Tarai Madhes agreed to make its position more flexible. People from the region side stepped the own Madhes own stance, interpreted here as a door to secession and separatism in the newfound Republic of the Himalaya.
South Korea is expected to face trade deficit for the first time in 11 years, mainly due to a huge trade loss with Japan and the Middle East. Our CJ Tristan has the details.
This is Tristan, citizen journalist from South Korea for Instablogs. This more reports from the Bank of Korea and the National Statistical Office and Economic Ministries suggest that Korea could be entering a severe economic downturn. The most severe economic shocks to destabilize Korea were the 1997 through 98 Asian financial crisis and the 1973 oil shock. Recent data suggests that South Korea could be facing a comparable scenario. The outlook has been increasingly bleak since South Korea released the nation's account balance. Korea has recently posted a $5.7 billion trade deficit for the first half of this year, the first deficit since 1997, and the Lee administration has been crippled by domestic strikes against its policies.
Violent video games has once again linked to street crimes, and gaming industry has been accused for dishing up ferocious content. Our CJ has more on this.
This is Taylor Flatt, citizen journalist for Instablogs from the US. As games get more real by the day, with graphic content flooding our minds daily, critics have found another scapegoat at which to point the blame at. The gaming industry has been under fire lately by many people saying that violent video games are actually causing their children to lie, cheat, or steal. They also say it can ultimately lead to murder, which is highly exaggerated. With that being said, couldn't you also say that if a teen saw a baseball game where a batter was hit with a ball or bat, he would go around hitting other people with balls or bats? With all the violence going on in sports, why don't we see these things going on all around us in the streets, homes, and yards? The same goes for gaming. They're just trying to find something they can put the blame on, but gaming isn't the real problem.
If you want your voice to be heard by millions, let Instablogs be your platform. All you need to do is email us at cj@instablogs.com and tell us what you have for us. That's it from the entire team of Global Report here. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow for new updates. Bye-bye.